We should all be familiar with the term meme by now. Coined by Richard Dawkins, it is, of course, a unit of cultural information, much like a gene, which may be copied, passed on, and if their natural environment suits it, they may prosper. There was a similar idea of the aliveness of innovation, actually way back in the 60s. A Canadian philosopher, Marshall McLuhan, said, "Man becomes, as it were, the sex organs of the machine world, as the bee of the plant world, enabling it to fecundate and to evolve ever new forms. The machine world reciprocates man's love by expediting his wishes and desires, namely, in providing him with wealth." There's also an interesting Radiolab episode on contagious ideas, which is worth listening to. On our model of the Welt, we expressed the meme as a sort of maypole, a spike, a singular idea empowering an untapped corner in our attempts to thrive. The x-axis, remember, is a measure of its reliability in doing so. The y-axis is the level of subjectivity, from our most personal and emotional beliefs all the way out to what we can all replicate, fields like science and math. Some memes have a very short reach, something like keyboard cat, doesn't have much depth, for example. Then there are things which are a little more complex. They speak to us not just in one small spot, not in one fleeting moment, but an entire zone of our prosperity. For example, something like the phrase, "Go ram it, Mal." Now, for those of you who get the reference, this will trigger all sorts of associations. Popular appeal of certain actors, storytelling techniques and values from the mind of Joss Whedon and his influences, and the financial decisions of Fox Broadcasting, maybe inside jokes you had with friends. And even though Firefly may have had a strong influence on your happiness and your thriving, all the combined lore and context that emerges as a tethered glob of the show pales in comparison to something like Shakespeare, which not only references an entire era and cultural mindset, but has become a reference point for so much of our culture centuries later. And beyond that, on our model, we can leave the arts altogether and explore something a little further out on the y-axis. For example, the meme of surgery. Now, surgery reaches all over the Welt. It's got its strings in our personal happiness, in neuroscience, family health, gender, cosmetics, war, art, and of course, the modern medical industry. And so this conglomeration of memes, of ideas so useful they've stuck around, is so big and complex. It's no longer comparable to a single gene. It's more like a living organism. It moves and evolves over time as parts of it mutate out, like when we stopped using boiling oil to cauterize wounds. And other memes mutate in, like the development of more effective anesthesias from ether to nitrous oxide. Many different parts of this memetic organism we call surgery, though they may not directly interact all the time, work together with separate functions: research, publication, funding, practice. And so, if McLuhan was right, some of us are these sexual organs that transmit the memes, but there are others of us that are the muscle tissue of its arms, doctors doing the actual practice. Some of us make up the valves of the heart, pumping economic life force around the system. And some of us are the brain, orienting the entire system so that it may move toward wealth or away from danger. Of course, surgery is just another small net in comparison to everything else that's out there. Politics, history, physics, music, earth science, sociology. We are all connected to, and very literally, a small part of innumerable, intangible, bigger things. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, this is starting to sound a little bit religious, I thought so too. So you can actually just compare that to two other quotes that came out of pop culture recently. One was, sometimes as a comedian, a line will come to you that is so beautiful, so perfect, that you think, I did not create this line. This line belongs to all of us. Surely this is a line of God. Another quote is, I believe in a higher power bigger than me because that keeps me accountable. Both of these quotes, which are actually quotes from Russell Brand and Katy Perry respectively, reference an influence that informs their actions. And this influence, for me, seems traceable to the cultural fauna that they've been a part of, except that they both imply a sort of deific quality to what they're experiencing. And so my question is, how does this relate to religion? But that's for next time on I Wonder.